Alongside Srikar, Rajendran, I'm Ravi, Kapur. After Game 5 of the NBA Finals, and sure enough, the Boston Celtics got it done. 18 championships now in the books for the Celtics franchise. They win Game 5, 106-88. Frankly, this game was done at halftime. After Game 4, which, that was one of those games where the Mavericks, out of pride, showed up, played very well, won the game by 38. Some folks in Dallas thought the Mavericks may be able to make this into a series, but it was very clear right from the get-go that the Celtics wanted to put this game away early in Game 5.
And I think they put it away the moment Peyton Pritchard hit that half-court shot. I mean, that was the moment where I felt like, yeah, you can't come back from that. The Celtics are NBA champions. Like, that is the moment in that game. That was a big turning point, right? So that's the big momentum shift. But overall, for this Celtics team, it was a dominant series and also a dominant playoffs. They only lost 3 games this entire series. 5 games in the first round, 5 games in the second round. They sweep the Pacers, and then 5 games in the finals. I mean, this is an absolute, powerhouse of a team that next year we could be looking at them and saying, could they run through the East again? Assuming they bring all their pieces back, which they should. Maybe they can add a little more in the offseason. Sky's the limit for this Celtics team.
They did catch a lot of breaks. We'll look at it from that standpoint. The Bucks were not healthy. The 76ers were not healthy. The Pacers were inexperienced. The Knicks got the injury bug as well. So they caught a lot of breaks, but there's no question they had the best regular season. They had the most complete team, top to bottom. And a lot of folks will look at the Porzingis trade as being the pivotal point in the Celtics season. But to me, Drew Holiday, so underrated. I really thought he should have had greater consideration to be series MVP. That did go to a very deserving Jaylen Brown. But Drew Holiday, if you look at it from the standpoint of where they were 2 years ago when the Celtics lost to the Warriors without a true point guard, and then switching Marcus Smart for Drew Holiday, it's a night and day difference.
No, it 100% is. I think Drew Holiday makes such a enormous impact on this team in that he can defend the perimeter. Anything Kyrie tried to do in this series, Drew Holiday had it on lock. So in a lot of ways, he really was that missing piece. The Celtics could win without Porzingis. Without Drew Holiday, maybe it's a different story because he's also the guy that facilitates that offense. So I think Drew Holiday, I'm right there with you. I think he was a huge piece for this team. Finals MVP, 100%. Jaylen Brown deserved it. I know a lot of people were kind of texting me on my phone and saying Jayson Tatum should get it because he finally had his 30-point game. He also shot 1 for 7 from 3. So it kind of evens out there. But Jaylen Brown very much deserved it. He was the most consistent player in the finals, the best player in this series, even just off eye test for the first 3 games. And he was also guarding the best players. Who was sticking up Luka Doncic? That was Jaylen Brown for a lot of this series. So when you can lock up a star player on the other side, that's also going to get you in great consideration. It's what Andre Iguodala did in 2015 to get his finals MVP as well. So overall, Drew Holiday, Jaylen Brown, the entire roster construction of this team, a big credit goes to Brad Stevens for building an absolute juggernaut.
Now, Luka had 28. He played well. Kyrie Irving struggled, was not an effective shooter. He had 15 points. Let's talk about the Mavericks briefly. Obviously, it was a completely lopsided series and, in effect, a gentleman's sweep. What can the Mavericks do from here, briefly? They have these 2 tremendous offensive weapons. Kyrie and Luka are phenomenal on the offensive side of the ball. I think Kyrie definitely defensively improved a lot this year. We had not seen him play this kind of defense, but it's going to be very hard if Luka is such a sieve on defense. So what do the Mavericks have to do to get that piece to help them? Because offensively, they can play with anybody, but defensively, that was such a huge weakness, and the Celtics exposed them badly.
I think another forward would help, but in terms of the help in this series, Luka, Kyrie, Derek Lively was putting up double-doubles. I think he did his part. But adding another forward in there, PJ Washington could move to the bench. I think having, another option there could really benefit this team going forward. But to be honest, it's also the bench. Like Josh Green did great. Dante Exum had his moments. If you can build out that bench, just like the Celtics did, this is a really deep team. And I think the Mavs could, be on the right path moving forward. But it really comes down to how they construct this roster and how deep you make your lineup, because that's ultimately what's going to matter as you go deeper and deeper into the playoffs. You got to have a good bench if you want to win. All the great championship teams in the past, however many years, you could attribute to a good bench as well as a good starting five. So make sure you build out that bench and also add another forward, and the Mavs might be in business once again.
Well, the good news for both teams is that they've solidified these rosters for at least another year. And in the Mavericks case, they really have like 2 more years with this starting five. We'll see if Porzingis gets a big extension in a year from now. Al Horford might be towards the end of his run. Maybe he has another year in him. But I think the Celtics will certainly retool, look for some big men to play alongside Tatum and Brown, who are locked up for years to come. They are truly in their prime. They, at minimum, will have 5 more years in their prime and maybe longer. So the Celtics will be a force for years to come. But of course, if you're looking at it from the Western Conference perspective, the Timberwolves had a heck of a run. They were just inexperienced, especially Ant Edwards had not played to this level ever before. So you expect them to come back. The Phoenix Suns are going to roll this lineup back, I would imagine. They've got some firepower. They need to get some supplementary pieces. And then, of course, the Nuggets, who were the champs a year ago, they feel like they just missed out on an opportunity. In a game 7, they didn't come out on top, but they feel like they'll be right back in the mix next year. And of course, those of us who've been following the Warriors, will see if they bring back Klay Thompson. If they do, they feel like they're one piece away as well. So there's quite a few folks, and of course, the Lakers fans always think that they're in the mix because LeBron and AD. But it should be a fascinating offseason, and it starts quick. The draft is right around the corner, and we'll see how these teams retool. What teams are you looking for next year? I mean, do you feel, as so many people do, that the Celtics will be a heavy favorite next year, or you think there's another team that's emerging that we should be keeping an eye on?
Quite frankly, I think the Celtics are just going to run through the East again. But if there's one team that I'm really looking at that could stop them, I'm really interested in seeing a healthy Knicks team with an offseason of additions. Okay, I really thought that the Knicks, going into the playoffs could really make a deep run. And then obviously the injury bug hit them. Mitchell Robinson goes down. Jalen Brunson is also hurt. I want to see a healthy Knicks team in the playoffs because that team I really feel could make some noise. And I think they pose the biggest threat to the Celtics. The Bucks are another team that I could throw in there, with Damian Lillard and Giannis, but do I trust them to really, push the Celtics that far? I wouldn't expect it, or at least it's my opinion. I wouldn't think so. But I think the Knicks are that one team to watch out East. But the West, man, so many contenders. I think you listed almost all of them. The Clippers, they could be really good again. The Warriors, you never want to count them out. I'd love to see how Anthony Edwards, runs this Timberwolves team for another year. I mean, there's lots of contenders out West, but in the East, if you had to ask me, I think the Celtics are going to be right back in the finals.
Well, our congratulations to the Boston Celtics. 18 championships in the books. They've overtaken the Lakers once again, who have 17. The Warriors have 7, have a ways to go to catch up those two franchises. But that's what makes it so interesting. The legacy of Boston winning so many titles in the NBA, plus the Bruins historically have been great. The Red Sox have been very good in recent years. And of course, the Patriots with their 6 titles. So Boston has a lot to celebrate this summer, and we'll see how the rest of the league will retool accordingly. For Srikar, Rajendran, I'm Ravi Kapur. Thanks for joining us.